Welcome to my Hebrew channel, Miel Hebraica. I'm looking at Psalm 37, verses 18 and 19. This particular portion of the scriptures, or the psalm, begins with the Yod. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, it'd be a good opportunity to do Yad, the hand. But the psalmist David uses another word, very well-known word, Yada, to know something. And Yodea, he's using a participle form of Yada. So, Yodea. And the Lord Jehovah knows knows the Tamumim, the Timimim, so the righteous ones, so the upright ones. So let's get into the study. And Yodea, Yehovah, Yemeh, Timimim, Timimim. So Yodea is a participle, which means it's an action that takes place over a course of time. In other words, in a certain sense, a constant kind of action. Okay, Jehovah always knows. Jehovah knows. Jehovah has, and not just knows, but knows in such a way that he's attentive to it. He's caring for it. He's looking at it. It's something he's always watching. So Jehovah watches the days of the upright. Cares for those days. So Yodea Yehovah, Yameh, Yameh. This is days of. This is a construct form, plural ending of the construct. Yameh, Timimim. This is Tam is upright or perfect. I tend to avoid the word perfect because it's sort of a when you have Neoplatonic thought. In other words, here we are. On the earth, imperfect, and up there it's perfect. No, we have something that is being upright, that's held upright. This is something action of the Lord, of course, in our lives. So tim mimim. So you can start with tam, perfect. You go tamam. You have two. You can go tau with two mems, and then you go way overboard with tim mimim. And our scribe, in fact, got carried away. He saw a nice hirik yod in here, and he went hirik yod here. And then the corrector came through and said, that second yod isn't there. Okay, the sound is taken care of by the hirik. In other words, it would have worked to have it there, but it shouldn't have been there because it really wasn't part of the original text. In other words, when the text was written, it was written tau mem yod mem mem, and the last im was taken care of by this hirik. So tim mim. The upright ones, okay, plural. I didn't put ones in here, but the upright ones. So the Lord knows the days of the upright ones. Ve nahalatam, and the heritage of them. If you're looking in Torah, nahal is almost completely always inheritance. In other words, it's a property. It's the things we're getting, material things, and the whole land can be the inheritance. Look through Deuteronomy. Even when you're looking in the book of Ruth, and you see Nahal, and you see it about 3 times in the book of Ruth, and there the concern is the piece of property that they're talking about, the land that used to belong to, or belongs to Elimelech, and now could go to Feloni Alboni, or could go to Boaz, and to Naomi still owns the land, but somebody else has to take care of it. So that's a Nahal. But if you get into Job, you will see that Nahal is more the heritage, what you leave behind as an example of your life. And even Job even mentions evil inheritance or evil heritages, but we find the same thing in the Psalms. Then it's not so much physical property, but now heritage. It's what your life serves as an example to those who come after you. So nahalatam, and the inheritance or the heritage of them. This is a third person masculine possessive pronoun here. The inheritance of them. In other words, the timimim. Le'olam, forever, tihyeh, will always be. And so this is a prefix form of haya. When you prefix like ehye, your sound will reduce to a reduced to a short vowel. So this is what happened here. And you have ehye or tehye, and then it's with a hirik right here, tihye. And the Siluk Sof Pasuk closing off this verse right here. Then on to the next line, lo, not, yevoshu. Now, there's been obviously a work of a corrector. We did see work of the corrector here, removing the yod that the original scribe had written in here and wasn't supposed to be there. Pulled it out. Printed texts are not going to show you this space, but you can see the work of the corrector. Now, the work of, I try to separate the work of the corrector and the work of the highlighter. The highlighter here should have fixed up the holum, should have put in a metech or makef right here, and should have fixed up the surik here. In other words, okay, I'm grading now the man who was doing the highlighting or the correcting. Maybe it's a few centuries later. All of these things had faded away. In other words, the holum, the makef, and the surik, and so the dot of the surik, and so now it makes a whole lot of sense to read it with lo yeboshu. Okay, that's the way it should be read. That's if you were reading non-pointed text, that's how you'd read it. So lo yeboshu. Now this particular dot right here has double action, double function. One, it sets the sheen, and the other one is the O, the holum. So these are two things together in the same dot. Printed text will separate them out, but we see them here together. So you have to just know that this dot has double function. Lo yevoshu, and they were not ashamed. They are not ashamed. Be'et, in the time of ra'ah, of evil, in the evil time. Now, we're going to get into a little bit of what this evil time can be almost anything, but we're going to get a little more specific here in the rest of the verse. We're going to be looking at one of the things that can bring on an evil time, and that is, bihme, and in the days of, say, so you have here, nice, the surik does have a nice dot here showing the surik. Surik comes in front of the label here, the bet. Now, there's no daggers, so you got to go down to vi me, okay, bihme. And in the days of, same thing as here, bihme. Yeah, there's no bet right here, but yehme is here, and then you have bihme. In days of re'avon, and this is, the word is very much related with ra'ah, resh aleph, and then you have resh aleph here, so it's something evil. And if you're looking at Ruth 1 verse 1, you're going to see yehye ra'av ba'aretz, and then there was famine in the land. And in Ruth 1 verse 1, it's going to be resh ayin bet. That's enough to have a famine. Got it, just resh ayin bet. Our author pumped it up and even another stress level, and that is you put an emphatic nun on the end of the whole thing. So this is, and you might just say, a real famine, a big famine. Okay, so ra'avun. Famines define people and define events in the lives of people. We see it with Abraham. He's told by God, go to the promised land, reaches Shechem, goes down to Beersheba, and very soon thereafter there's a famine that sends him off to Egypt. Not there very long, probably a good thing. And Pharaoh, of course, pushes him or runs him back to Canaan. Then days move on, and you have the big famine during days of Joseph. Joseph is sold into slavery, and when he's there, Pharaoh has a dream: 7 days of prosperity, 7 years of prosperity, 7 years of famine. And so, based on that dream, Joseph is able to rescue, Jehovah rescues Egypt via storage of all the food for 7 years that then can be later used for the 7 lean years. The people of Israel are over in Palestine. They're also suffering the same famine. And for rescue, they send first the brothers to buy the food, and then later on, Joseph, of course, invites the whole family over. The whole clan is sent or comes to Egypt, and they're rescued. They're protected during those years from that famine. We also see famine during the times of Elimelech and Naomi, and they Elimelech faces famine in Bethlehem. He goes off to Moab. He dies, his sons die, and Naomi goes, oh boy, now what? Finds out that the famine is over at Bethlehem. She returns then. We see through these events that famines tend to define the lives of the people who suffer them, and in many cases drive them closer to the Lord. Famines, of course, are very difficult scenarios, and we know they even happen in modern times throughout Africa and other parts of the world. Famine can hit, and then there's a lot of stress, and at that point we have a lot of refugees, and of course those who follow Christ and are involved in the church also recognize the responsibility of rescue in situations like that. So famines do define people and bring trouble, and we of course have to work in resolving those things. So, but here we have Yemeh Rabun, days of big famines. Yevashu, they are satisfied. They are satisfied. If I was giving a student a vocabulary exam, and I gave them the Shabbat, the Shin Bet Ayin, I'd have to be prepared for at least 5 or 6 answers. The students will just give you one answer, okay, to make a covenant or to 7 or something like that. But this being satisfied here, Sheva, of course, is 7. 7, of course, is perfect, and okay, we reach perfection through the Rabun. Okay, so yeah, there's a lot of angles you can go at with this verb, and the definition of the verb has to be based on the context that we're working with here in our passage. This is something you have to do in Hebrew studies. You can't just go head off to the dictionary. If you go to the dictionary, and unfortunately our lexicons often will separate out different versions of Shabbat, in other words, Shin Bet Ayin, with different definitions. But if you put them all together, you get a whole lot of different definitions. How are you going to define those definitions? On the basis of the context where they are working. So, in the days of famine, Yevoshu, in other words, something goes well. In other words, and obviously, in some ways, Jehovah rescues his people at a time of famine. And so it's a way, as I said, also bringing people closer to Jehovah when they are stressed and when they find trouble and so forth. It can be an opportunity to return to Jehovah. Structurally speaking, there's a Revia Magrush right here. I was looking for one here. There's not one here. But yeah, there is certainly a Siguk Sofasu closing off this verse. In terms of meditation, in terms of what's happening here, when we live the life of Tamim, we have to know and recognize that the Lord is cognizant, or as the Lord is attentive of each one of our days. Now, we've seen the previous study, or one of the previous verses, the Lord knows the day of judgment of the evil one, but the Lord knows our days. This is plural, okay? And that one's plural as well. In other words, the Lord knows the days over the span of our time, the span of our life, and those days are certainly in his hands. And even the hard things, the famines, the trials, the ra'ah, this could be expanded into other tough scenarios. Even in those places and even in those times, Jehovah knows the days of our lives, and he cares for us and protects us through all of that. So God bless and God strengthen you in this day. And if you're going through a famine, may he bring relief in this day. Until the next time.